All right. 10 o'clock, we'll call the Information Technology Committee meeting to order. And our first order of business is to accept the minutes from our September 24th, 2025 meeting. Do I have a motion? Sam, motion Charlie, and Dave, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Information Technology Projects Report,
Okay,
you're on.
all right. So, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
So on the projects report, the only thing that we have that's kind of come on and falling off this month is the Middle Falls barn, where we have everything 100% done from a tech standpoint for DPW, the new DPW barn, and everybody's been moved back over to that location as well, and the temporary site's been shut down. Other things are all in process. I don't know if anyone has questions on any.
Yeah, I do. So the county 40N facility, there's something still to be done there, right, or no?
A lot to still be done there. Yeah, we're still waiting on internet right now. We have 2 different vendors we're working with and hope to get it installed within the next couple of weeks. And then we've got to, once we get internet, then we can get everything else set up from a network perspective.
So why doesn't it show up on this report?
Because we're not doing it yet.
Okay,
Because we haven't,
You gotta put it, once you start it, then you list it.
yeah, we were gonna list that this month. And go ahead and get that on as a project because I anticipate having some internet there to be able to move that forward.
That includes the security in buildings and everything, right?
Well, so once we get the internet set up, then it does include like all the cameras. The security system, like fire and those are separate, but they do ride on the same
To
network.
get in the building, the employee to be able to get in the building.
Oh, yeah, the access control.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
once we have network there, we'll have to be able to set that up as well. So amazing how much relies on network.
I have a question. We have a couple of them that are 95%.
Yeah.
So when it's that close, are you down to like just testing?
Yeah,
Basically, it's.
yep, so the public defender software, which we launched this year, it includes both public defender's office and assigned counsel. Public defender's been live on the new system for, I would say, about 4 weeks now, and assigned counsel's been live for about 2. So they're all, working through the process and I just want to wait and make sure we get through the live, any issues that they may have before we close out the project. So that what I would anticipate being closed out by next month.
Okay,
So when you see the next month project, that'll be done. The other is the cybersecurity policy. So where those are at, we have all new tech policies that we're reviewing. We have a meeting on the schedule with like Melissa and Dan and others to review the policies because we still have a little more internal work to do on them. And then once we have those finalized, you'll expect to see them come to you all for approval. I believe that's the process to get them all in place.
great, thank you. Any other, Dan?
Yes, are the fuel pumps operational down in Bar?
Middle Falls, they are.
They
That's
are.
my understanding. I don't
Well, I
want
know
to get
a
a
few
church.
weeks ago they weren't after, so I didn't that got finally operation.
I think they are, but you probably want to confirm with Deb Donovan. But I believe they are.
Okay. Your end of it is operational. Not
Yeah,
that.
everything is connected with that.
The others,
Board of Elections is up this month, is that? And then can't got any new projects going on over there, so are they all falling apart just prior to the election year? or what?
Yeah, nothing that I know of. We did all the upgrades for them over the last year or so I think we're in good shape as far as Board of Elections goes.
60 hours.
Oh, yeah. Well, getting everything ready and tested and we have some custom
So that's fine.
applications.
But not issues.
Yeah, testing.
Yeah, okay.
Right. There's also been a lot of work over there. Probably some of it went under Board of Elections with the new Burgoyne build out. You'll see like when we get to the ticketing report, like IT, you'll see there's a ton of hours on there because we've had to do all of the wiring termination over in that facility. So we've had 2 techs on site for well over a week, like days. Actually, it's been at least a couple of weeks, I guess, at this point, getting all of the cabling terminated over there and ready for the move.
as long as Bob brought it up. With polling sites, do you do anything related to tech there? Because, for instance, in Greenwich, they're changing a polling site. So I'm just wondering, does that trigger something for you?
It doesn't, because the way that it's set up, the only thing that connects to the internet at all at any of these sites are the poll books, the e-poll books, which are iPads, which have cellular connection. So there isn't really much for us to do, thankfully. The rest of it is all a closed network.
So it doesn't matter where they are?
No.
Okay, thank you. Jay, did you have a question?
Well, yeah, since we were already getting onto the ticketing there, and I was gonna ask Bob's question, but
Sure.
also on the DSS, is that just the standard one guy that's down there, or is that over and above the one person that's in there working?
Yeah, so we have one person who is dedicated to DSS, but then we also support him. So if he's out or anything, so it's more than just him.
So we got 165 hours
Yeah.
over and above what he's already.
No, his time is also
Okay,
counted in
that's what I
here.
was.
Yep. Yeah, that's all the time.
Any other discussion? Okay, then let's move on to the ticketing report.
Are there any other questions on the ticketing?
All right,
Uh,
cybersecurity report.
Yeah, cybersecurity report for this month. The item of note is that we did attend the fall conference for the NYSGLITA IT Directors Conference that was out in Western New York this year. So we had two people that attended that, which is a really, really great conference, and they really brought a lot of good stuff back with them, especially around AI and those type of things, which is always continuing to flesh out.
Is that the one that did the instruction with, or had the program for?
What's that?
Wasn't he, Matt, going to do, some training or been chosen to put on a presentation?
Oh, for Ryan, you mean?
Oh, Ryan, I'm sorry. I said-
Oh, no, that's okay. No, this is the IT Directors Conference out west, so he wasn't doing, we just attend that one.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and gather a lot of information. Did anybody have any questions on any of the other statistics that are on here? They're pretty status quo, which is not bad.
I remain a little uneasy, with the concept of New York State auditing everybody and determining what our cybersecurity stuff ought to be. And thanks to the state, in my experience, is always at least 5 or 6 years behind where everybody else is.
Right.
Am I correct to be concerned about, having to comply to state requirements and things, or? It seems like I would guess we do a better job without.
Right, what do you mean state auditing and stuff?
Town code and start auditing.
Oh.
Everybody, all the towns,
Yes.
everybody, and telling you whether you're up to snuff or not, what you've got to do to change that.
Yep.
That's undoubtedly another unfunded mandate.
So they've been doing that for a long time, because in my previous life,
Well, they're working,
Yeah.
the general new regulations coming, I believe.
oh, some new guidelines.
They do.
Yeah, so
They do.
I know I personally have been through several comptroller state audits and the town level for other small towns that I supported in my previous life. And they're very in-depth and they're very eye-opening. And I know they have to try to find things to report on, if you will. I think from a county perspective, we're in pretty good shape. But they're always gonna find something because, to be frank, we can always improve from a technology standpoint. I don't think there's anybody that's perfect out there or that they'll ever find is perfect. I don't know the new regulations that you're referring to. I know we deal a lot with State Board of Elections. And they have some really specific requirements, which is excellent, which has really helped us too, to continue to improve our posture. Because they funded quite a bit of those studies and assessments that we work with State Board of Elections on, which applies to the whole county since the Board of Elections is within the county. So that's been excellent and something that we've been able to do at no cost. Like we haven't had to pay for that. The penetration test we went through fairly recently was from the Department of Homeland Security to be able to help us again, to check the controls that we have in place and if we're actually meeting those requirements and have somebody live testing in our environment. And that was quite eye-opening as well. In a good way. I mean, we did a lot of things right, but then we have to look at our own freckles and where we can continue to improve as well. So
Well, I'm glad you were up this.
yeah, well, I believe that it's a continuously changing landscape. So it's always gonna be something new that comes out. Today, something new is gonna come out, tomorrow, something new, and the hackers are always one step ahead of us. So we have to continue to stay on top of things. It's unfortunately not one of those, or fortunately, unfortunately, I guess, but not one of those things where you learn it today. You know, you get your, okay, we're good, we're certified, we're done, and then we can sit, stagnant for years or whatnot. You really can't. In IT, it's just, it changes so fast. And there's things that come out that we have to respond very quickly to. I think we have some great programs in place, thanks to you all, to be able to put us in a better position than most, honestly.
And
terms
Bob,
of
as you
going with
know,
the-
when the controller goes into, do an audit, they always find something.
Oh, we have all.
It's
They actually have said to us,
part of his,
Yeah.
salary.
well, we have to put something down.
I thought
Right.
that immediately, that's what I compared it to.
On the financial audits, I would give.
I don't leave them, so.
Okay,
So, the question. The grant application you sent out.
Yeah.
For cybersecurity software, when's the drop date when people have to apply for that?
Tomorrow,
bless you.
and that's actually on my agenda for other business to
Okay.
Yeah.
request for the chairman to sign ours, because ours is ready to go. So I have
I
other
submitted
business for
mine,
that.
how many other towns do?
It's really great, and I would encourage any of you that haven't. It's not a long application. It wouldn't take you a long time to put it together. It takes, I don't know, 30 minutes maybe to fill out the application itself. And this is not a grant like other grants. Like, it's not like the cybersecurity grant where you're gonna receive money, and you have to spell out everything you're gonna do. This is specifically more like a shared service for multi-factor authentication. So it'll help pay for, my understanding is they haven't given us any vendors or who they're gonna be using. But my understanding is it would pay for like the fobs, and then also pay for the service to be able to provide multi-factor, especially for, external systems and email or remote access, those type of things.
Probably took me about 15 minutes to do it.
Yeah.
It walks you right through it.
It does. It's like a Google form or something. It's really easy. It's right online. Doesn't take a lot of writing. It's really just answering a bunch of questions. So if anybody hasn't, I definitely would encourage you to take advantage of that.
Yes. Hey, under other business, I asked if we could talk about, I think many of you might be aware of what happened with Amazon yesterday. They use their servers and storage and so on for many, many companies, and they had a glitch. It wasn't malicious, but they had a glitch happen, probably in an upgrade or something. And it affected many companies' operations, from universities to businesses all around the world. So I asked, and to my surprise, we do have some stuff like that. So if you could talk about not just that, but where else we have it and what the possibilities are. If that went down, what the repercussions are.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I mean, Amazon Web Services are massive, and there's many, many, many people, a lot of smaller companies, software companies, just like you said, banks. I mean, many people that use Amazon Web Services. So my understanding of what happened yesterday is that it was an update gone awry, similar to not quite the same, but I don't know if y'all remember the CrowdStrike thing that happened, a year or so ago at this point. That was a fun time, but that was an update that they pushed out that caused a problem and started causing operating systems to crash. So this was an update on Amazon Web Services. They did take their systems down for some time. I don't want to list specific, product names that we use, but we certainly had products that were involved in that yesterday, including things as public facing as our website and where things are hosted that would affect the functionality of it. So it's not all the software, but I would say I had 3 different notifications from 3 different vendors that we use, that we have cloud hosted software that had problems yesterday. And that let us know they were down.
So I thought this would be eye-opening for most of us, that we don't think when we hear this big giant out there that we would be associated with it. But, it just shows you how interconnected these things are and how vulnerable you possibly could be. You think putting in the cloud is the safe thing to do, right? Because it's not on your system, nobody get into it. And it wasn't malicious and nobody got any data in it. But it just shows you how interconnected things are.
Yeah, and
So
the big,
thank you.
and the big players can have problems too, you know, even when they're big and all the redundancies and everything don't make up necessarily for a bad update. So diversification, in my opinion, is the answer, being able to keep
How
everything
long
running.
was it down? Hours,
They said by this morning, they thought they didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
24 hours?
By 1 or 2 o'clock, a lot of systems started coming back on because my wife was affected with her banking.
Yeah, I know locally I got notification from my bank, local bank. That had
I
some
know
issues.
about universities, including my college, the course management systems all went
They
down.
don't have much technology. I didn't get any notifications.
My son was waiting out there yesterday. That's for him and him,
Me,
because
like, you're still.
guys couldn't get their flight planes.
Oh, wow.
Huh.
Well, yeah, it probably touched everybody
Yeah.
in one way or another.
Vehicle started up.
Okay, we have another business.
horses up over
Yep, the other business item is a request for the chairman to sign the grant. I don't know if I'm making that request properly, but to sign the grant so that we can submit the grant for the multi-factor,
apply for it.
to apply for the grant. Yeah.
Hello, a second, Sam? Yep. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, motion passes. Any other business? No,
Don't have anything.
okay. Well, there's nothing else, then, it's adjourned.
Bill William, order. I need a motion to accept the minutes of September 23, 2025. Jim, seconded by Lance. Any further discussion, omissions or corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. County attorney, amend budget outside counsel.
Yes, we still have a couple of legal bills coming in for the end of the year. Unfortunately, this is one of the years where the bear is us.
Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, most if not all that's related to the tax foreclosure litigation that came out after Hennepin. So I'm asking to transfer 18,000 from my currently vacant deputy county attorney salary to cover these bills for the end of the year. I'm hoping that's the last request for the year.
I have a question.
Yes.
Has the total cost in a year for outside counsel this year, prior years, has it exceeded the cost of an in-house attorney?
I don't know if that's going to be the case, but I can tell you, given the current status of that particular litigation, I'm the only attorney in the office that's currently allowed to practice in federal court. There's only 2 attorneys in the office. I don't have the time to devote to it, and I don't have as much expertise as I would like in that area. So, I mean, yeah, obviously, the fact that we only have 2 out of 4 attorneys in my office is a factor, certainly.
But so is this a specific case that's causing this?
Yeah.
And so in future years, we might not need.
Yeah, I had initially, when I presented my budget for next year, I asked for a significantly higher number in that line after some of the other discussions the department had. I did cut that particular line a bit. Whether I'm gonna have to ask next year to add to it or not, this one out. I'm hoping that that litigation will hopefully have been wrapped up by the end of next year, is my hope. So I'm hoping this year is an abnormality. Usually I don't get to the 15,000 I put aside for outside counsel.
Thank you.
And it's more maybe for the treasurer. You said a lot of this added cost was to the foreclosure and the sales and stuff there.
There was, we had 7 people who we had previously foreclosed upon or had actions pending to foreclose. After the Hennepin decision, say they were entitled to a surplus, which right now, there's still a question whether any of that is retroactive or
So
not.
we can't derive any of that out of the sales. I mean, this is all cost of doing, Mr. Treasurer.
Well, as you know now, the way Hennepin works, we eat all the loss and we get none of the surplus.
I appreciate the question, but the unfortunate answer is no. What I will discuss with the county attorney though is what is our exposure if we lose? Because if the attorney fees start tickling up on that number, we may want to talk about whether it's even worth continuing the lawsuit. Right, because at some point, we've only got one auction that would even be in the radar. Because the last one we had before this one was in 2019. So we would have to look at our exposure, should we lose, and make sure that we're not spending more than.
And the frightening thing to tell everybody is this is just our portion. Harris Beach is representing several different counties in
This is
this
a-
lawsuit.
Multiple county.
Some are class action, some are non-class action. I know there's been a motion to dismiss on this matter and it hasn't been decided yet.
And
Yes, when you calculate the cost of, back taxes, what's it, 1.5% a month, is it?
1% per month is the interest and penalties.
Now, is that something that the county sets,
No, that's set by
the
state.
state sets that?
Yep.
Cause I would say if we could put a surcharge on that, of whatever the additional cost to facilitate the new law, we could actually budget and gain some of that back. It would drive up what the actual cost to the county is for the tax sale.
So the law did let me tick the fee that I impose from 150 up to 250. So there is $100 per parcel is now being able to be added to offset some of those costs, but
Are we adding, did we add it?
yes, sir. Yeah, as soon as I was able to, that fee was imposed on that.
And there's no other way we can impose a fee on?
No, sir, this fee is also set by statute.
need a motion to move this to finance? Sam, second by Lance. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried.
I do have a couple other things that came up.
On the list.
I know, well, one of them only came up yesterday.
Go ahead.
Actually, both of them came up yesterday. Initially Al received a call from in Communications with regard, on behalf of GE, with regard to a parcel in Fort Edward that we approved the sale of on Friday, but there's roughly a 30-minute or 30-day delay between us consummating the sale officially. In any event, GE is looking for permission to do some soil sampling on riverbank on the property located at 95 Broadway in the town of Fort Edward. They expect it to be done within a week. They gave me a date to be completed by 10/31, which we still own the property at this point. They're looking for permission from the chairman to be able to take those samples, so we're going to run that past the committee, to make sure he's authorized to sign any permission slip.
Motion by Jim, do I have a second?
Oh, yeah,
Got a question on.
yeah, I do too.
How about a motion seconds for discussion?
Okay.
A motion, second? For
Yeah,
discussion?
to discuss it, you know.
You had a question?
First question I have is, when they do the sampling and they find, say they find some very serious things, and so what are the repercussions for us?
Here's my question.
That's a good question, because obviously we took it in foreclosure. We had sold it, obviously, when we do the sales, it's.
We are in the chain of title, is the short answer.
We own it right now, correct?
Yes.
We own it, but we have approved the sale to a third party.
Right.
So if they find something, we may be obligated to mitigate it.
I don't know the answer to that question at the moment, but I will look into it.
Well, to follow up on that, if you take it to the next step, they find something and then they back out of the deal. Which is logical. I mean, people back out of the deal. And now it's public that there's something there and DEC reads the newspaper. So I think we all have to draw our own conclusion.
Yeah.
If responsibility is going to be held to somebody, we own the property. I mean, that's the long and the short of it, right? We own the property.
Is that exactly why we try and stay on a change of title on some of these?
I withdraw my second.
This discussion never happened.
What is the reasoning for wanting to come in and test? And when we sold the property, it was as is, and it's sold, and let's close the door. Deed can go somewhere else.
We'll put it on again another time.
Who requested the test?
I got a call from John Brock from Ian Communications. I believe was acting on GE's behalf.
GE off part.
Well, as you know, GE had some issues with things that got dumped into the river many years back.
For those things.
ECBs.
What does that stand for?
I went to law, I got.
So why do they want to buy the property?
No, they don't want to buy the property. They want to do some testing samples on the property.
Oh, somebody else bought it.
Somebody else bought it at the auction.
So
Scott,
GE want to look at that to limit their liability in this?
It's possible. I mean, obviously they did a lot of remediation over the years that we know heavy equipment. It's my understanding it's all hand sampling.
so
They buy PCBs, it's out there.
That would be my initial thought.
So if we do it and find PCBs, we're in the chain of title and have responsibility, which what you're saying would trickle back to the original owners.
Well, they're the ones who put them in. They did the contamination.
So they'd probably be held for remediation.
Right.
If we do the test and we find it's clear, we got the property out of our hands. So
He rescinded his second. Is that a formal motion? Formal action?
I'm not sure you can rescind this.
That's why I want to ask Dan. Because he did. I mean, there's no further conversation.
Well, normally you have to rescind the motion first.
So I'm just trying to follow the change, so it may not be as easy as just ignoring it.
For the discussion.
No question over there.
Grace.
You considered getting, environmental insurance? Make sure just in case they do find something.
Get it out.
No.
I'm gonna get it out. I gotta get rid of a burning home.
I wanted
You had something else?
so if someone bought it, why are we at risk?
We're in the chain of title.
They haven't bought it from us.
They
yet.
haven't, they don't.
Oh, they
own-
haven't bought it.
Closed.
They put the, my understanding, I'll correct me if I'm wrong, they put the deposit on the property.
Deposits have been paid, none of the sales have been consummated. Well, I take that back. I think one sale's been consummated.
And is the buyer, commercial buyer?
Yes.
Okay, so that triggers a phase one automatically. Because any commercial buyer that gets a commercial loan the bank will require phase one environmental anyway. Am I correct on that, Dan?
That I don't know.
I know, we learned that in the town of Greenwich, that was the case.
But that's a loan, right? You're referring to the bank.
If that commercial entity that bought that property is getting a loan to do something.
Right, and if they're not,
It triggers a phase one.
if they're not getting, well, if they're just paying for it.
But they may be getting a loan to do something with the property. And that'll trigger a phase one, and then they'll go back.
Right, that's maybes and ifs, I don't know.
I know what was the dollar amount on this sale? Do you remember?
I can look it up.
Not much money, they probably won't get a loan for it. So here we are, if we get it tested. We're still on chain of title. And GE is also, probably GE is gonna be charged remediation. So the decision we have to make, we want to find out if it is. Or if it's not. If it's not, we can sell the property, get out of it, get out of the chain of title. If not, we're still in the chain of title. Either way.
And if we're in a chain title, does that mean we probably will incur attorney time?
It's too late for us to pay not in, right? So anything that happens in the future, we are in the chain of title. There's no turning back from that.
Scott?
I think it would be irresponsible for us to not get that property. And it probably would open us up to litigation if we ignore it. I think.
Either way, if it's clean, we're rid of it. If it's not, we know we're in the chain of title and we can proceed and go back through and you will probably be held responsible for cleaning that up ultimately by DEC. Yeah,
I am not aware of any piece of property that we have taken and put on in a tax sale and tested it, allowed it to be tested before or after we acquired ownership of it. So I mean, this, number one, I don't like the idea of changing this around and start allowing people to test property before they pay for it. Now, I have no idea what kind of money are we talking that the sale was for? Have we found it yet?
number one, it's not the buyers requesting it.
I understand that,
Requesting it.
but if it was, who cares who's requesting it? We own it and there's requests from somebody to test it before they own it. So while we're sitting on it, we're gonna have it tested or allow it to be tested. I mean, then is that gonna be a precedent? When every piece of property that comes up and gets sold through auction, that anybody that wants to have it tested, now that I've got control of owning it, but I don't own it, I'd like to have it tested. I mean, we're opening up really some major issues here. Now, with that all being said, I want to ask my county attorney what his advice is to it. Is that what we have a county attorney here, sitting here to do?
As I said, this all came up very quickly. I got the call forwarded from Al, I think right before the board meeting Friday. I spoke with, I wasn't able to, obviously because of the meeting, I wasn't able to speak with John from GE until yesterday. I assume that this is part of a continuing obligation, so I'll read the. Says I give permission to General Electric, its employees, agents, representatives, and sponsor contractors, Environmental Protection Agency, and New York State regulatory site personnel to access my property, collect samples and soil as part of the EPA's Upper Hudson floodplains investigation. Granting this consent, I understand we'll receive a map of the sampling, locations, results. As will EPA, this information will be provided by EPA to EPA by GE without identifying property owner is treated there, so I understand EPA can make the analytical results of any sample collected on my property publicly available without identifying the owner address of the property.
So what's your advice to us? Do we let them do it, or do we treat it like any other piece of property? And the owner has to test,
I would, well, as I said, right now, we're the owner.
right? That's why we have the ability to give permission or not.
Right. I would say it looks like it's part of an EPA investigation. I would say information. But you're free to accept or reject my advice as you see fit.
Well, no, but what is why are you choosing to go with that kind of liability, putting on the county?
Well, I don't know that we are getting any liability. I mean, we're in the chain of title, no matter if they find something or not.
But if we say no.
If they find something, and I gotta assume that since this is an EPA investigation, they're requiring GE to comply with because of their cleanup of the river, and I realize I'm making an assumption when I say this, that EPA is going to require GE to bear the cost of whatever remediation there may be. So I think my assumption would be our liability would be somewhat limited.
Okay, I can live with the advice of this.
Did we charge an access fee to GD? See how bad they looked at them?
I don't know. Is the initial answer. I'd have to see if there's a statute that says we can do.
I understand the concern about just like not wanting to go to the doctor to test it, you don't want to know what's going to find. But maybe we've got somewhat of a responsibility to our citizens. There's a potential problem that we could either say is there and get away from it, or it's not there and you're okay. Maybe if we don't do it, we're subjecting our citizens to some physical dangers that we could have protected them against. I'm not sure what the system will propose, and Scott kind of alluded to that. I think this might be a public safety issue that we ought to take serious. It's not costing us.
So back to committee, any other questions, comments?
Could we give them permission with, make them sign the agreement if they find anything that is not our responsibility, it's somebody else's?
That's another one.
Well, hey, listen,
No, that's fair.
if they're asking them for permission,
Yeah,
give them,
I
and
can
give
ask
them
that.
that as an option, see what they say. If everything is for the betterment of man, they'd sign that.
No,
I can tell you from experience with other properties, that even if the tester signs a whole harmless agreement, your friends at the EPA will not be as generous.
But
If there's something found that's being reported to the EPA, whether it's tested now or 6 months from now, we are in the chain of title.
Mhm.
Didn't we get into that way back?
Like I said, we've been through this a couple of times,
Yeah.
and we're the government, we're here to help, doesn't
No, they never.
fly, so.
we, 1138, that property, didn't we?
We got bit by a couple that,
Yeah.
like this one
Okay.
where we didn't know yes or no going into it. And then we paid some cleanup costs because we were in the chain of title.
So no matter what, we're in the chain of title, we could or could not be held responsible for it.
Correct.
But what we're asking for is Tim to go back and say, if they do find something, because GE was the original owner of the property, they should be responsible.
well, I know that GE was ever the owner of the property. It's the question of did the stuff when they had the plant that they dumped into the Hudson River contaminate the property by creation of
Plants.
I think,
Scott, I'm sorry.
I think we should kind of ask ourselves, will we let our local ones move into that house, knowing the team wants to test it?
I would say that if Bob's right, we should know what that property is. We have liability, we have chain of custody. Chain of title in that, we should know what's in that property. If someone's willing to pay for it, we should take them up on that. We'll still have the liability no matter what, because we're in the chain of title if it comes down to that. We're not gonna be outside of that chain of title. Okay.
Just looking at the bigger picture of this, anything that we have going forward down along the Hudson, or should we even be telling realtors and everybody else, you should be testing down through or having DE test down through, because that's what we're opening up, but possibility of damnation all the way down through there.
We don't know why they're asking.
Yeah.
So I'd be comfortable saying yes. They should not.
I mean,
Why
it
they-
says,
I'd like to know why they want to test.
I can tell you, it says as part of EPA's Upper Hudson River floodplains investigation.
I'm going to say this, but not that it's really relevant, but in a way it is. I owned property at one time. I don't anymore. River just south of Florida, where it is. EPA or GE wanted to get permission to test all of them. And in that written agreement, they said that I would be held harmless for what they found. Now, all of a sudden, we're afraid to tell them that we have to be held harmless. You know, I think we're treating this way too lightly. Myself, but that's,
I thought that was one of the things we're looking to put in the motion, we'd ask.
well, I did, but I got no response for it.
No,
Well, you want me to read what the investigation says on the website?
sure.
This is part of the Hudson River cleanup. The upper Hudson River floodplain is being evaluated for the presence of PCBs. In October 2014, General Electric agreed to conduct a comprehensive study. PCB contamination in the upper Hudson River floodplain under the GE, investigating PCB contamination in 43 mile stretch of the Hudson River floodplain from Bakers Falls and Hudson Falls to New York to Troy, New York, which this study will include an evaluation of human ecological risks and potential long-term cleanup solutions. The EPA will decide on the final cleanup plan with input from the public. Floodplain sampling is ongoing as part of the comprehensive investigation. And then there's some links we can learn more about the investigation. Such. So this has been going on for a while.
So. Dan, are you willing to amend the motion on the floor? And put in the brief, our consent, the G, home wireless on.
I make that amendment, motion for that amendment.
So second by Lance and Sam. Al,
I just want to repeat that GE cannot consent to an EPA hold harmless.
Yeah, but they can consent to us. And it just is one more little straw in the bundle that we have. Other than that, we have nothing. We've added one layer of thin film to our defense by doing it.
I just want to make sure you understand it won't stop EPA from.
Oh, no.
Alright.
But it'll take notice the EPA will take notice of that.
Sure.
Or the alternative is do nothing for 3-4 weeks, and then property sales consummate, they can ask them.
Oh, you don't believe the people that purchased it are aware of any of this?
Not that I'm aware of.
probably are.
Until now.
Well, you got the motion on the floor in a second.
All right, so we have an amendment. Add a hold harmless to the agreement to let them do that. On that motion, what's the vote?
Yes.
Amendment carries. Now, the amended motion, all in favor?
Well, yes. Aye.
Or did the amendment not be the original motion as amended?
That's amended.
No.
Got 1, 2,
Whoa,
This guy?
the fella that made the motion votes no against the motion.
The amended motion.
amended motion.
Voted on.
I want to end this, yes, get it over. with.
Yes,
that
so
way.
we got 4 yeses, motion carries. Thank you.
And last but not least, which hopefully everybody got this morning, we did get the Orange Street decision this morning. It doesn't really affect us. The request for the preliminary injunction was denied. There will be a conference in front of Judge Mueller on November 17th or further litigation where I think it's gonna tell Village of Hudson Falls and Town of Queensbury to figure it out.
Everyone started.
Figure it out.
Yeah, nothing's changed, but I did send the decision to everybody, so if you really have any questions, but it's pretty self-explanatory.
All right, thank you.
Will
Anything
that
else,
be
Dan?
resolved by stone time?
Probably not.
Next is, county clerk.
Figure it out, yeah. That's right.
Oh, you get reelected.
Most of them are students.
Oh, my God.
Morning, Lisa, how are you? Over here.
So the first thing I have is I brought, our county archivist Grace Peck with me. She would like to do a family heirloom preservation consultation service. As part of that, Grace has a background, I'll let her explain her background. But she would like to offer a service where, folks would come in and have an assessment of their collection. Whether that be any old wedding dress or whatever. She would make recommendations, guidance, and instruction of how to properly preserve them. For this, she's looking to set up 30-minute sessions and charge $20 per consultation. We would not house anything here. We would simply, she would do a assessment, provide that information to the parties who come in, and they would take their belongings with them. Okay. Grace, you wanna tell them a little bit about your background?
Come up here.
Well, I'm
Grace, you have to come up here.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta be on camera.
So my name is Grace Peck. I have a bachelor's degree in art history with a concentration in Italian studio art, and then I did my master's in Florence, Italy, in museum studies with a concentration in curation and conservation. So I have experience in conserving objects. I do not have a license in conserving objects, so I would not be doing anything physical with the objects. I would just be giving my recommendations from what I've learned in my expertise. So that's what I would be doing. Nothing hands-on. They can bring stuff in, but I would not be touching it like in a way to conserve it. I would just be recommending, like we said with a wedding dress, someone had a wedding dress and the box it was in was getting moldy, and I was like, I need to take it out of the box and put in a new box. You know, it's not going to be anything physically labor intensive. There's programs like this at the state archives. They do more hands-on because they do have a lab on hand. I would not be doing any of that. And if anything was bad, I would just recommend it down there. This is just preliminary consultation on what you can do to make your collection better and last longer.
Should the response be overwhelming? Do you have the time to do this within your hours of work and stuff?
Absolutely. I actually just did a presentation at the counseling center in Glens Falls, and we had several people stay back and ask questions, and it really, depending on the size of the collection, it doesn't take too long to recommend easy fixes.
Good.
Any questions?
Out of curiosity, did you work at the Louvre?
No, I used to work at the Uffizi in Florence and also Massimoca and the Tang in Saratoga. But no conservation work there, just an old tour guide.
So you didn't bring us any jewels to help offset the.
Oh, gosh, no, no, but
Thanks, Grace. Any, Cassie?
So, all that sounds good, but a question for Dan, would there be liability on us for this?
I would ask for a
Release.
waiver
Yeah.
or a release to be signed because they're recommendations, but the last thing I want is Grace makes a recommendation, they do it and something happens. So I think very least there'd have to be some type of waiver form saying, you know, this is just advice that you're kind of like mine, free to accept or reject as you see fit, and that, you know, these are recommended courses of action, and the county thinks no liability, and you're releasing the county from any liability, you know, assuming she doesn't say, you know, take your wedding dress and dip it in acid or something.
So, good question, Cass. How would how would this be marketed, so as the public out there was aware that the service is being offered?
So we do have an archival Facebook page, which we would highly promote. But we also have the tourism committee, a whole historian, like to bounce ideas. But I'm also trying to put together a list of people in the area that might have better expertise than I do, so that we can kind of bounce ideas and customers off each other. So that would be another big.
So this would be a service that's being provided that would generate revenues without any additional cost.
I don't need any equipment. With my eyes.
Yep.
Have her
Gotcha.
go live like the Antiques Roadshow, Sam. And
Yeah.
Can't assess. I'm gonna assess.
Yeah, sure.
Around the town halls, maybe.
There you go.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Grace. So discussion on this, I think that, Sam?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think that, you know, that's part of the, responsibility in the office of the county clerk is to preserve the history of the area and the county, and those kind of things. And if it's gonna be a revenue maker rather than a swamp that's gonna just keep draining, taking more monies, I think it's something we ought to do, because we definitely need to increase our revenues, no matter how small it may be. I agree.
Anyone else have any other questions? I think, Melissa, do you have something?
Is there gonna be any cost to this?
No cost.
No cost.
Revenue.
I heard that. I can't imagine there'd be revenue.
So,
I was a little surprised when she came back from her presentation over there and said that there was quite a few that were interested in. I said, I like anything else that comes up. We have to give it a try at this point, you know, hopefully you can help us with a waiver of some sort.
So can this committee
You need
approve it, or do we have to send it to?
Dan, does this have 25?
Just here.
Here should be good.
I'll make a motion now.
Motion by Jimmy, second by Lance. Bessie,
Somehow did that motion of the first, so that it was down.
so that was in your motion. wasn't
That
it?
was in my motion.
Okay, that's what I thought.
She read your mind, Jim.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. No waiver. Okay, next.
Grace and Shelby down in archives also would like to do some community interviews that they would put on their Facebook. Again, I think we're gonna need a waiver on this one too. They just want to interview people about maybe how things are different now than it was when they were, you know, going to school, or young parents and families. This again would not be, this wouldn't cost us any money, and it doesn't generate any money. It is something to put on their Facebook page, called, a series called Community Voices. Is there any?
Discussion? See how over
Dave, would it be worthwhile to connect her with Laura Oswald and what Black Dog is already doing for us? That may be a good tie-in.
Yeah, Laura.
Laura's here.
They're next to each other.
They're all connected.
I was actually going to suggest you have a waiver that we use when you're doing any filming, any videography, any interviews, that we have people sign them, we'd be happy to share it with.
Thank you, Laura. Appreciate that.
further discussion. Bob, you want to say something? I can tell.
No, he wants to be the first day.
He is rolled.
Back when the schoolhouse was one room.
He is the Medici of this area.
I think it's a great idea. I have actually ghostwritten a couple of books for people on their family members go and interview. There's some more things. So it's pretty nice stuff, actually.
Did you interview
Not
the
the fact
ghost
that I
too?
wrote it, but the fact that they've got it for their family. Very nice.
we'll have, the program Scariest Houses in the United States come do a session with you. What's the thoughts of the committee?
I think it's a great opportunity once again. Try it. If it works, we'll do it more.
Need a motion by Sam, second by Jim and Lance. Any further discussion? All in favor? Someone tells me these are the easiest to do.
What would you say now?
I don't know, just keep on going.
After Dan, I think that this is difficult. This is not.
I would just like to thank Grace for taking the initiative to do these two undertakings here in Albany County along with some. Thank you.
And I'd just like to make an observation now, becoming much more aware of the county museum with recent publications and so on. Might this be an opportunity when Grace looks at some of this stuff that the people might be interested in donating? It might be something that Grace determines would be a valuable addition to our museum. So that's another plus that this could be.
Awesome. All right. Let's
Next.
start. DPW or DMV changes for
DPW?
2026. I wish it was the same. Okay.
That's it. That's it.
So for DMV, couple of changes that we're looking to make. We are not changing Thursday nights. We are still going to do April through the end of September, late nights on Thursdays. That is a huge draw from not only this for our county residents, but also other local counties. It gives our working folks a chance to come in and not take time off from work to get their business stuff. We are looking to scale back the mobile again. I know that we took Salem away. The mobile was a great service when Stephanie initiated this several years ago. When things were, how we received our revenue was different at the time. It got us to go out to the smaller communities and them to kind of see a friendly face and do their business. However, our revenue is generated by mail, online, in the office, and in the drop box that's out front. So what we're looking to do is to probably, well, we are hoping to just do Granville at this point for next year. That will save an additional $800 at least on carpool cost. Because we would only need one Wednesday a month to go to Granville.
So. Is that also you gain more productive time and staff because they're not traveling back?
They're not traveling back and forth because we have to send a supervisor and a clerk out of the office. You can't do everything in a mobile that you can do in office. Particularly the real and enhanced IDs. We had this year's numbers of just license renewals for 2025 in Washington County was 6986, so 6,986. Our projections for next year are 8,517, so 1,600 more.
So what percentage of those were done at? Well, license renewals couldn't be done at the site.
Can't be done at the site. So what's being done at the mobiles are plate surrenders and registrations. We can look at their paperwork to see if they have everything they need for a real or enhanced ID, but we can't process it because we need to scan those documents. They go down to Albany, they get verified, and we also have to take their picture.
How is traffic going compared to previous years in coming to the local sites?
It's up and down. It's almost seasonal, just kind of like our DMV is. You know, the spring we're heavy with boats and motorcycles and just regular renewals. Where in the wintertime, it's you know, December 31st comes around and everybody's gotta get all their trailers renewed. And then you have, this time of year, it's not so much. It's mostly just the end of the, you know, the birthdays and the snowmobiles.
So why are you selecting Granville to retain as a,
They are, the numbers that I brought from the last time we met, when we presented my budget for next year, clearly shows that Granville is our top, exceeds the other ones by far. It's almost twice as much as any of the other ones. You could take all the other ones combined, and it's gonna give you the same revenue that we get from there.
Melissa?
Lisa, can you remind me how much of the revenue we get for online?
It's a
Changed a couple
percentage.
years ago, right?
Yeah,
Because we didn't get
we
much.
gave up a little bit to get the online, so it's 10.75% now, regardless. But it was 12, we had to get to a threshold, we had to get to a certain number before we get the 12 point whatever percent it was. So they changed it.
So at one point, we didn't get revenue, right? When people renewed the registration that were
Yeah,
online.
the state
now
got
we
most of it.
do get,
Now we get 10.75%.
which is what we get if they come in the office.
Well, it's more if we come into the office and they're a resident of Washington.
Okay.
Jim?
No, you talked to the 3 dealerships in Greenwich about not going to Saratoga,
Or
coming to us.
that they were doing partnerships, so it's not Saratoga. I'll listen to your question, but I may refer and we'll talk after,
Okay,
okay?
so my question is, if I understood your email, it was, the conclusion was they will now come here.
That was our hope, we're working.
Okay.
Yeah.
So will owing the Greenwich as a remote location affect that?
No.
Because as you know, they bring quite a bit of business.
Right, but you said we started with 0. They weren't using us,
Right,
so if we give them the care they need, and I've done this before, if I'm dropping off what they need, their registrations and stuff to them directly, that goes a long way in them using us and not going to other counties.
okay, so you would go actively with that, okay.
Dan?
Yes, if you only keep Granville, what ones are you servicing now that you're gonna let go?
We would let go of Whitehall, and then we were alternating Cambridge and Greenwich.
Okay, and the cost saving you said was $800 out of carpool.
That's just on the car. At
Is there
least.
any other costs that will be reduced by letting that go?
Just keeping our people in the office.
That's the only difference
Right.
is,
Increased efficiency.
well, the only reason I'm asking is I remember when we started this, that we knew there was gonna be a cost, but we thought the cost was outweighed by the service we were providing our constituents. Now we're limiting that service for a savings of $800. And I'm only stating that because I question, is that worth $800 to a service that the public sees? But if, in all reality, if nobody's coming, then I say yes. And I'm not worried so much about the cost and the generation revenue as the service. Does $800 offset the service? And I don't know the answer to that, but I think that's something that should be
You know,
considered.
we've thought about all the different angles and we thought of we are working on I know this is an open forum and it's televised, so I'm not gonna tell all the things that we've been doing behind the scenes, but I can guarantee you that we have left no stone unturned. We are trying to get as much revenue for this county as possible. And I need my people to be here at the office
To do it,
to do it.
okay?
Sam?
I think our message needs to be consistent. If we're going to look at eliminating positions in the service business, those people that would come in with an application today, if we come back too far, it's gonna take them longer to get it. So, you know, I don't think they're gonna be inconvenienced any more than the other people. It's a match. I think with our messaging, we have to be consistent. If we're going to eliminate some of the services, then we need to eliminate the ones that we can save money on.
And as far as like, I mean, that's, you can look at it this way too, is one less car that we need to be getting out of the carpool lot. Maybe I can, right, this is only one day a month. Maybe I ask DSS to borrow one of their cars or whoever else has a car instead of tying up and having a car sit over there. Because I know that's a huge expense.
So it could be more than $800 of saving when
Yeah.
we actually look at it overall.
Yeah.
Anything else?
We are looking at, doing something different with the hours of operation at DMV. No increase in costs. What we would do is we were seeing with the interests of the employees of maybe working, having 3 people come in for 7:30 and they leave at 3:30 and have the other ones work from 8:30 to 4. No additional cost, but if you've been to DMV, you know we have a line outside every day for 8:30. And maybe it'll generate increased revenue because we can get people on their way to work. Maybe they work in Glens Falls. Maybe they live in Glens Falls, but work in Washington County. It's just, you know, I feel like we can't take everything away. You know, we said we've talked about this, for months because we kind of knew with the state coming in and taking the DMV revenue, like as soon as we cash the check, they've taken their bit. And there's this pretty big bit. The other reason why we said to keep Granville in and not completely dismantle the mobile is because remember last year when our spectrum went down and we couldn't do no operations, it was our Greenwich and our Whitehall that kind of saved us, that we were able to complete transactions and keep revenue coming in until they got fixed.
She wants to change hours, just, or someone else, that's her purview to change hours.
Exactly.
We don't have to turn it down in, so I just wanted to.
I would be curious though, just Melissa, kind of as you as the day-to-day, foreman, for lack of a better word, with those departments.
Marshall.
Are you good with that, or?
I like that.
You like, she likes that better than
Yes.
her administrative with it. Yeah, do.
That way, if anyone's looking for the administrator, she can go.
People remember the configuration down there. You know, they can't get past there. Can't get past county clerk office DMV because we
Right.
shut her off on
It's all shut
the
off.
stairway and.
And the
Buildings and grounds,
scheduling
same
is within the
buildings and
county
grounds.
hours now.
There.
Yeah, because there's other departments that flex and do. They
Yeah,
work.
Melissa's good, you're good. Go for it.
Yeah.
Or, I said, again, we're willing to try something, anything to see how it goes, and I'll definitely be keeping track and reporting to you. I think there was one concern somebody had mentioned to me, they were concerned about the 3:15, the 3:30 to 4:15. I go, it's not as, these are country folk. They like to get up early, like to get their stuff done early so they can, you know, get to bed early, I guess. I don't know.
Any questions on that?
Sounds good.
Next?
I think that's it.
Well, good lord, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Lee, for the innovation.
So he was dismissing you. He just said, next.
Yeah. I'll give it.
Thank you.
We've seen everything.
And-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I just got updates today, mostly on the projects. We'll start with Bridgeline. We are just starting the process of closing out some contracts over there. Public health scheduled to move based on the door hardware being there either tomorrow or through this week. We'll just have to wait for the last state approval. Been getting all the documentation they needed to them. The basement over there was where we were housing Meals on Wheels. And, you know, we talked about the building, I don't want to go down that road too much, but it keeps flooding. The groundwater is too high over there, and the whole undercarriage of the building underneath the concrete that used to drain somewhere way far away. We could never trace it the whole way where it goes, but it's been backed up and it just keeps flooding down there. So we're moving the adult nutrition program over to the annex too, because WIC already moved over to public health. So that's, once we get public health moved, which should be in the next couple of weeks, I will start decommissioning that building. The biggest hurdle of decommissioning is, believe it or not, is our IT, because that's the hub. That building, the corner of the building is actually the hub for all the fiber that runs to the different little buildings. But I've been working with Mike Trackey, and we think we have, you know, the conduit. Even if the building isn't demoed right now, we'll be able to run conduit in and then back out to the other buildings. So we can get, obviously, the heat shut down, power shut down, so we could completely decommission that building, which I think is, you know, one of my priorities this fall. I don't want to pay for that building all winter or all year. The cost to run that building is rather expensive. So.
Now, what did you recently say the electric bill was in that, or to heat it? You had said it was a huge amount to heat
It
that
is,
building.
and I don't have the number off the top of my head.
I couldn't remember what it was.
Stored to give you accurate information on that one, but it's actually comparable to the whole Burgoyne building, if not more than whole Burgoyne buildings cost to heat. So that has obviously updated boilers, which are much more efficient than what the Annex 1, everything's ancient in it. So nothing's efficient about that building. So that's on you know, horizon in the next couple of weeks or a few weeks for the Burgoyne. If there's any questions before we move on to the barn projects about Burgoyne, I can answer them right now for you. Okay. We'll go Middle Falls. Currently, our guys are residing there. Our lease ran out with Beckham, the temporary spot, October 1st, so we did it in October 1st. There is punch list items that are finishing up, including the sprinkler system. The fire system, the fire alarm system is active and working. Fuel will be done and ready to use by next week.
Oh, so it's not working yet.
I thought it was because Dairy Ripple, which was a subcontractor, had told us that he was on our IT. They told me that about 2 months ago, so I talked to IT, they went down, got their stuff done, and I assume that's all they needed to fill. Well, in a conversation this morning, they're still blaming IT. So I said, I'm gonna walk in the door right now and put you on speakerphone. They hurried up and they said, you don't need to do that. We'll be there at the end of the week, next week. So obviously they're busy and they were just putting us off, blaming, somebody else, but they will be finished now by the beginning of next week and up and running. Some small parts that they didn't put on the first time, they have to change the size of the fill. Was the wrong size or something. And they were communicating with somebody in DPW that was, that I didn't even know about. So anyways, that's fixed. It looks good. They're using it. I'm communicating with the supervisor or their foreman down there, a couple times a week just to get the nicks and knacks, his questions answered and what he needs, or just adjustments and all the systems. I imagine in the next couple of weeks I'll have a walkthrough with all their employees down there, just so they're familiar with all the systems and the pumps and everything on how to use them.
Will we be having a grand opening?
If you really want to, we can do that. I'll do whatever you want. If you don't, I mean, they're in there now and they're using it, so it's not as pretty as it was. a month ago, you know, our trucks leak a lot of oil and.
But
grease, and I'm just, you know,
But I
Yeah.
do have a question, and that is, when will we have a final number on what that cost us?
so that's in the same boat as, Burgoyne, and we are finalizing contracts now, you know, and then the last week. I've been going, you know, I don't wanna pay them until it's done and completed, so I have to be careful, I can't close the contract out. You know, and expect them to come back if there's punch list items or little things, so. You should be showing, you're on target for everything that I presented in the past, with both Burgoyne and Middle Falls. We're gonna be under budget on both of them, so. I'm confident of that, you know, I'm not, I know, cause I would say, you know, I'd sign all the allowance disbursements and.
Are we gonna get a sign in front of Middle Falls Bar like we got out Burgoyne?
No, it's not a public location, we're not asking public to come there.
Was that part of the project, that one on Burgoyne,
Yes.
that big huge sign?
That was in the bid documents.
Any questions on Burgoyne and what other updates do you have?
Fort Ann, and if we're done with Middle Falls and that, Fort Ann, we are. My plan, I've been talking to Ronnie. I would think we're gonna probably have the same situation as Middle Falls, where we're gonna move in probably in the next 2 weeks, but there's gonna be contractors still finishing stuff up. We're working on getting the propane delivery. I know they wanted to start the boilers up and commission them on Thursday. If that's still. My coordination meeting was exactly the same time as this meeting, so there's gonna be, you know, some notes that I'll be able to read when I get out of here. As to where they are, some dates. The only thing that's gonna delay far as contracts up there is we're gonna be able to move into that building. The demo of our county building is probably gonna be delayed. And that's due to the fuel system. We need that old building to run our fuel system, you know, so we can have. You know, we don't have to have heat, we just have to have the power and the IT to run the fuel system, because that's not gonna be done. And that's a bigger story in itself, but. We're getting it done. The plumber came to us in October and said that he didn't know it was his scope of work to provide the fuel system. So there's not even really gonna be a challenge because it's in black and white in the bid documents and everything else. It's just, they didn't order anything, so now they have to order all the tanks and get a subcontractor to do this fuel system for them.
So what's not gonna be, is all the safety stuff, the fire sprinkler systems, all that stuff is gonna be done?
Yep.
So what's not gonna be done, we're gonna move in?
The fuel system down there at our building, the
That's-
fuel
that's
down
it.
there. When you go to move in, there might be adjustments to the HVAC, the ventilation system, stuff like that, but, your welding, the sign shop, all that stuff will be ready. The other item that we have, like backup plans, I've been working with IT, is Spectrum. If you call them or I call them and they come and pick up in the next month or something at the most. We signed a contract with Spectrum back in, I think it was May or June, to provide the service. It came time, we were ready, everything was ready, and they said that it was gonna be 4 to 6 months before they could do it. So Terry, you know, she's worked them over hard. Magically, you know, they pull the wire through the conduit, so the wire's there, but we still aren't hooked up because. And it could be a national grid thing, because we put those new poles in coming down the road. And I don't think National Grid is giving them the permits right away. They're taking their sweet old time giving them permits for them to hook into the wires, so. We're looking at like a temporary connection from our old building over, so we can just make everything live IT, or we have Tim and Glenn have a connection with Hudson Valley, we might be able to use that temporarily until, until, spectrum comes online. But
So, in the overall expenditures thing, for all these delays and all the time it's been put off, what are the contractors conceding on this?
so right now, we're still under budget. We were, if you remember, we signed the change order for the site contractor because they were delayed. And they gave us a bill. There was a small delay for the electric contractor and the plumber that were much smaller. The general contractor did not give us any delay came because obviously they were the reason of the delay. That'll be up to us, you know, as we get a little bit farther right here on soon. If we want to, you know, take legal action to recover the delay money that, you know, we're gonna have to basically, you know, go after them to get money that we've spent. Doesn't matter. As the project as a whole, we're still in good shape.
So when do we have to make a decision if we're gonna go after them?
I would say, you know, probably in the next month. We're not ready to close out those contracts, so we have a certain
That
amount.
information at the NISCO course, it's January.
It's a whole job, so.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Matt?
Yes. Can you confirm something for us?
Sure.
Bob, Brian and I got an email this week. The individual indicated that he was told that 2 projects were over budget. You're confirming they are not over budget. They'll fall according or not over budget. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Laura?
I just
I just want to point out, I don't know if this helps, and I don't know if you were aware, but Slick Network Solutions has built out in this area.
Yeah.
And they have existing fiber.
They're not there though. We actually wanted to use Slick there
Right.
and we've been through the whole thing and they don't serve that stretch of road.
Because I can tell you that the National Grid permits have been taking excess of their poles.
Yeah.
They're way.
So, yeah, we definitely explored Slick because that was our first choice.
Any other question for Matt? Brett?
Yeah.
The hills.
Thank you, Matthew. Other business, Melissa, I think you got something.
Well, we recently talked about the GPS, in the vehicles, the county vehicles. And how that money was gonna be withdrawn from the 2026 budget. So that has been done, for this year. The $24,960 was taken out of the budget and that contract has now ended with Samsara. So we currently have a policy, which is the county vehicle fleet management system, which would no longer really apply to anything because we don't have the GPS in the vehicles. So I would like to withdraw that policy, from the county policies.
Motion. Motion by Lance, do I have a second? Second by Sam and Jim. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No.
Al?
I have 2 hopefully quick ones.
You're following Roger.
One of them, the community college chargebacks are starting to come in for the fall. It appears that we're going to be over budget, so I would like this committee to send a finance resolution to increase the community college chargebacks. I'll have a number of finance, but it looks like it may be pushing on 40 to 50,000 more than what we anticipated.
We have a motion to send it to finance. First by Sam, second by Jim and Lance. Dan?
Discussion. Is that where we're on? The chargebacks. That's what we pay other community colleges, is that what?
For our residents. And it's
To our
always,
residents.
and it's always the best guess at budget time, what that number is gonna be.
Okay, and is that due to increase in tuition from other colleges? Or due to increase in the number of students going to other colleges?
It's both.
Both.
Some colleges, it was an increase in enrollment, and some colleges, the chargeback amount actually increased. So it's kind of a factor of both.
Okay.
Bob,
The usual suspects,
if I
Pleasant Valley Community College.
And there was a couple that weren't on the radar before that have enrollments this time, so, which is great. I mean, some of our residents are exploring new colleges, but we didn't have any money in their lines, so.
Wasn't there one in New York City that we always?
I don't
That
want
might
to
be.
think about it.
that's
I
a
will.
honor, he's
How
a
much
teacher
did your-
down there, Professor Hank.
Yes, there's one we used to get funded for that we do no longer get funded.
Any other questions for Al? All in favor?
Aye.
Next,
So I don't know if this is for Dan, Melissa, or go away. But one of the items that's come up during the budget process was on-call pay for exempts. Didn't know what committee that conversation needs to start at. I thought that the policy came out of this one, but I couldn't remember for certain.
I think we could talk about it now,
Yeah.
if that's okay.
It's up to you guys. I just didn't want
I
to.
have information.
Okay. And if it's something that needs to be discussed either in executive session or later, we can.
I don't think it has to be.
Okay.
So,
specific person, it's
Right.
class. Can't be executive session.
so I had, follow-up conversation with a labor attorney regarding the exempt salary employees that receive on-call pay and whether or not it is something that should be paid to those people, or if we should add additional people to that. The feedback that I got from him was that exempt salary should not be receiving any kind of on-call pay. That's a differentiation between them and hourly employees. So that brings up a couple things. I had put on the staffing request for 2026 for public safety to be looked at as far as being added to the on-call pay, because they, if you remember, they alternate weeks on, the deputy and the director. Where one's on a full week and then one's on, and it actually makes it so that they can't leave town, can't go on vacation. They're actually on call, but because they're exempt salary, they should not receive on-call pay. So I mentioned to the budget officer that I'd be withdrawing that request for 2026. But it does raise the issue of the on-call pay that we're currently paying people. That was enacted 5 or 7 years ago.
6, 7 with raise the age probably.
With raise the age.
Where it started.
So, yeah, because there was money, I believe, that could help pay for on-call. So it allowed on-call to be paid to, I think it's all attorneys. It's in public defender, it's county attorney, and it's the DA's office. And it's a considerable amount of money that is in the budget, for those exempt salary people. My issue is, if we're not supposed to be paying on-call to exempt salary, how do you pay it to some and not to others? Whether it's funded or not, whether there's revenue to pay for it or not.
What this labor attorney said, if they're exempt, they don't get it, right?
Correct.
So the other thing that we need to clear up too is there is a difference between exempt and salary. Those are actually two separate designations. We've kind of blended them internally as the same thing, right? Exempt employees are not necessarily the same as salary employees. And the other thing I want to clear up, there was a statement made at the board meeting on Friday that we've been illegally paying overtime. I just want to clear up the fact that on-call pay is not overtime. We have not been illegally paying anybody overtime pay. I just want to clear that up, just so there, if you have any concerns, on-call is not overtime.
So,
It's like a stipend is paid for a service that you're providing.
Well, it's a service and it's a restriction on certain.
It's a restriction on your mobility.
And activities.
It's not overtime. I just want to clear that piece up.
so what's the difference between salaried and exempt?
And I would have to go, I don't want to misquote the labor law, Dave. So the Fair Labor Standards Act lays out all those definitions. So exempt from overtime, there are certain criteria. Professionals, there's a wage threshold. So like our coroners don't necessarily meet the wage threshold, right? They would be salary, right? Exempts have a specific definition that they have to tick certain boxes. Right, so exempt and salary are not interchangeable. We're talking about exempts, is my understanding.
And the on-call that's currently being paid out
Is to exempt.
is to exempt salary.
So that's why I wanted to
And
bring it
those
up,
people are all exempt.
because the
salary.
ones that I'm concerned about are in the exempt classification.
Correct.
So we have other departments that also have on-call.
But they're hourly,
Yes.
not covered by any of this.
It's not exempt.
So there's no salary exempt in DSS or
We have the directors in DSS that are on the exempt salary schedule that would fall under exempt salary that are also being paid, I believe it's $10 a day.
But they may be salary not exempt. We'd have to look at where they fall
I-
under.
Yeah, I confirmed that yesterday with the,
Okay.
yeah, DSS commissioner. They
Bob?
are exempt salary.
The big kicker when DEC got into that was salary level. Was being the lowest paid in the state, we might well have trouble achieving those salary levels to make it. That was a biggie. I mean, and the finding there's Garcia versus San Antonio, I think. Finding there was that, when you restricted their activities, you were essentially, that was a job requirement and all the, every conservation officer in the state that they were calling exempt was not, but their salary was so low. So they wound up paying a shit ton of back overtime for all that. We gotta watch ourselves there, because, our frugality here with salaries might well come and bite us on that.
We do make sure that the exempt salaries are above that threshold.
Okay, and I don't even know what it is anymore. I know it's changed
It changes
several
every
times.
year,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's still finding her last year, I believe.
yes.
Dan?
I'm getting a little confused with all the dialogue. How many people is this impacting? If we were to abide by the labor attorney's recommendation or advice, are we talking 8?
Honestly,
10?
4.
4? That's all we're dealing with.
Well,
Any
because
attorneys?
the DA's office, Christian Morris gets all the
Going on to 2012.
on call, which actually puts his salary above mine. It gets split between myself and my one other attorney in my office. We have more, we split it 3 ways, 4 ways. And my understanding is, I believe Mike Procure takes all of at least the gap on call for public defender's office, which also puts his salary above mine.
So what is the total extra on-call pay from those 4 people?
I thought it was around $22,000, but then.
I think it's 20,000 per department.
First, yeah, I was talking to personnel.
So
They
it's
thought it was
probably about
much more than
66,000 total.
No, that's all. I
It's
didn't know what kind of
considerable
stuff
amount.
we're talking and where of this.
You have other conversation? Any other questions? Bessie?
Out of that money, what is paid for out of our budget and what is funded?
I don't know the answer to that.
The only one funded is the ILS one for public defense.
So the other,
Yes.
because if it's all funded, then it's, that's the other conversation is the budget.
But still,
So just the ILF.
whether it's funded or not, it's still not legal.
Well, I get that. I'm just asking so that somebody doesn't go and go, well, if we end up taking that away, that's another 80,000.
I wouldn't say that it's not legal.
What?
You can always choose to do more. I think using the term legal might be a stretch.
Was that required is maybe,
Right,
it's not
Yeah.
required.
not required. And it does make it a little messy because you're treating your exempt salary people as they were hourly. Right, you're not supposed to treat them like hourly. That's why our exempt salary or salary people switch in once a day. You don't treat them like they're hourly.
So Dan had a question.
When it's
Yeah.
like an activity.
Now, this is how I approach problems and like this is we are discussing the problem. I think we've thoroughly discussed it. So now how do you solve it? And what I'm looking at, there's 2 choices. One is you cut out the on-call pay to everybody and they split up a loss of $66,000. The other option is to find a way to straighten that out without them losing. there's, the extra pay. And that's really what we need to decide, right? Are they deserving of that 66,000? And so, how do you do it and become legal? Or if that's the concern, and now Al just brought up the fact that maybe it's not illegal, it's just not a good practice. I don't know. What are we looking at here? I mean, you brought it up, you opened this can up.
I brought it up.
Well, you brought it up.
Because my name goes on their paycheck, so let's make sure that we're compliant, right?
Okay,
So what I'd like to know from Larry is, first of all, can I, right? Because I've always been told before, you can do more, you can't do less, right? That's what we've always been taught when it comes to payroll and stuff like that. But if you can't pay on call, we probably should know that immediately, because then your options, I think, if I heard you lay them out correctly, are correct. Your two options are binary. You can, if you're allowed to choose to do it, you continue to do it, or you turn it off. Or you roll that money into the base salary and make it part of the salary so that they're not financially impacted by the decision.
and that, my question was, is that what our three options are?
So.
I mean, that's what I'm seeing, so I wanna know if there's other options other than that.
So
I have not heard of it.
there's another factor involved in that, and I think Dan pointed a couple out. If you roll their base salary, you just put your attorneys in lopsided, like they'll make other people make more money than he does.
But I thought they're already doing it.
No, that's with the additional on-call. It's
Right.
Just the way those departments have divided up, Tony, you know, he's making far more than anyone else. He doesn't need it, so he.
Right, but the
Gives it
point
all
is,
first.
it's already occurring as far as who's making more money,
Yes.
Yeah.
right?
But
That's,
you could put your trust in Melissa and Brian to make sure that it's fairly equitably distributed.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, I have no problem. But I didn't know, is there another solution? Is there?
So I don't know if I have a solution, but I have another problem with continuing it. It was brought to my attention by the sheriff that he has staff over there that is on call. They're exempt salary people that really he feels that they're, I guess, they're restricted by the on-call as well. So if we're gonna give it, we have to probably give it to more. And it becomes messy because when you're exempt salary, you're not hourly. So it's a difficult situation because some are getting it and others aren't.
So we brought the issue up. Started a discussion, I think, that it's going to finance. I think by the time finance, at least it has to go to finance. We have to sit down between now and finance, come up with a way we're gonna approach that. So I didn't mean to ignore you, but I started talking.
Well, the reason I brought it today is Brian's dropping a budget in 2 weeks that he's gonna need to know.
The timing is really bad because originally the hope was to go forward this year with an adjustment to the exempt salary schedule to make those salaries more competitive. If it was going ahead as planned, we could have taken that into consideration when we raised up all the salaries because they're not competitive. Unfortunately, we're not able to raise the salaries and make that adjustment like we wanted to. And now we're talking about taking away additional money that some people get.
Which it's illegal for us to pay. Well, from what you passed along from the.
It definitely
They-
doesn't meet the requirements for on-call because they're exempt salary.
So I mean, in the search for solutions, I'm just hoping that, I mean, I'm certainly not an expert in this sort of stuff. I doubt any of us are. I mean, who are the folks that you can tap into for maybe some, because you're looking for another option?
Why don't I work on that and I can come to finance with more definitive plans and answers.
Brian's draft, well,
Finance will be after the budget.
well, yes and no, the tentative budget will come out, but we could amend it when we find the solution.
Sure
Between
can.
then and time we,
Sure can.
I mean, I think we need to do the study. We just can't, we could say here, just take it away, but I don't think that's the right answer because I think there's several questions that still have to be answered.
It doesn't answer the problem.
So whether or not we did it, brought it back to public works or public safety, I think that's not the.
But again, I apologize it wasn't on the agenda, but I brought it up when
Or
it
depending
came up
on,
for public safety and then it came up again Friday, so I kind of gotta bring it up.
or depending on what Ryan wants to, we could schedule a quick finance meeting, to talk about that after public safety and public works next week. That's up to him, so you can listen to me to talk to Brian, figure out what the logistics are. We know the issue is, we're forwarding to finance for discussion.
The conversation with the labor attorney is the paramount first step.
Correct. So need a motion to send it to finance. What, Luann, second by Sam. Any further discussion?
Or we, basically, what's the motion that we're
We're
sending
sending
what?
finance.
Send this problem to finance.
For further review.
For further review, we need.
You don't have to answer it.
But we need to collect more
It'll be
information.
That's all
between now and
passing the
then.
buck.
It is.
It's more
than just 4 or 5.
Oh,
It would still have to go to finance no matter what we said or said.
with no recommendation.
The recommendation.
Based
is
on what
that they do-
information? That's what I
Yeah.
want her
The
to get
information,
some
we need more
info.
information. We had more information today, we can make a solid recommendation to finance. We don't have the information. Concrete, yes.
I mean, or we could table it for a month, which isn't gonna
No,
solve
we can't.
anything until we got the information back to here.
All in favor,
Just
move to
stop.
finance. Terry,
Thank you.
I better roll call them. I guess I'm done.
I didn't hear a lot of-
2 and 3 at best.
okay, anything else? Al,
Those are my 2.
thank you for both of them.
And we have.
We're adjourned.
Oh, I thought I had something under other, but I was just waiting. Charge for code enforcement when I don't use it. And so I'm not prepared to discuss it. I presented a copy to our town attorney and to Dan to review. And I'd like to be on the agenda for next month about it.
Absolutely.
So I want to get on the agenda.
Happy to hear code enforcement falls under
Public safety.
public safety.
But whether to be billed for it, I think would come under government ops. That's why I said it.
Maybe we'll find that out.
But it's wherever I want to be on the agenda.
Public safety.
And if it's on, maybe send it to finance.
Melissa said. public
That's always
safety.
good.
To start.
Foreman.
Okay. We're adjourned.
Very good. I'd like to call to order the Ag Planning, Tourism and Community Development Committee for the month of October. The first order of business is to accept minutes from September 25th. Motion by Jay, seconded by Lance. Nate. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. We're gonna start right out. Ron, you were put on the agenda, and when you're put on the agenda like this, you can come up and sit right up front. And I know that you are a gifted speaker, but I do want to let you know it's 11:45, and when people start dozing off, you're losing your effectiveness, so.
Well, hopefully I can keep everybody awake here. But I would like to, I wasn't affected by the
IT downfall yesterday. I was making copies for this meeting today. If you would just send them around. I want to make sure that. For sure.
I'm sure get one.
If you would, try to keep them in order, if you would, please, because that's kind of the basis of my.
Is there any left?
Got one more or shy one?
But the chairman doesn't have.
Oh, where is that, Chairman?
She's not chairman of this committee.
No,
That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll read it.
Oh, is this yours?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, all right, I'll get started here. The order in which I wish to present here today regarding the hopeful moratorium on banning of biosolids on land in Washington County. I'm gonna start with the health risk that are presented if we do not initiate and act a moratorium. You'll see in the first page that's here, I attended a meeting this last month at this PFAS-free New York, and basically, quick overview, it's a group that was down in Albany, and they were talking about legislation that would be hopefully coming up in this next session, because it's most of you know there was a 5-year proposed ban on biosolids at the state level, and it didn't pass. It passed in the Senate, but it didn't pass in the House, in the Assembly. So if you look at that, it's fairly easy to take a look at. It gives you an overview of the very severe health risk. Everything from, the thyroid disease on to, reproductive problems, lungs, and pick a body part, and even to infants, unborn infants. The second page is the urgent alert for farmers, this page here. It basically outlines the use of some facts about the spreading of sewage sludge on land, the risk, the chemicals that are involved, the risk to health. It just goes down through, it's pretty self-explanatory as far as the risk factor for it.
Right, can I ask one question to follow along?
Yeah.
So you said the Ross, is that about the manure pits we have? Is that included? The manure pits that we have, is that included in that spreading of the chemical stuff on the farm grounds?
I would think, my estimation, that would not be the case, simply because I'm not certainly any expert, but it's manure from cows and horses, whatever the livestock is at a particular farm in the county. It's the sewage sludge that comes from the wastewater treatment facilities.
Okay.
And that, as we know, is composted, and that is indeed what is spread as what they're calling soil enhancer nowadays. So yeah, to clarify that. And actually in this, if you look, it kind of encourages that being done, the greater use of the farms, however they're made, to spread it or liquefy it. Okay, so the one thing that scared me when I looked at this paper was simply, if you look down a third of the way down on the first page, Franklin County, New York receives more sewage sludge than all other New York counties combined, all imported from other places. Now, being from that area, from Clinton County originally, it's a scary thought because there's a lot of farms in that area, as most of you, I'm sure, know. Big farms, and you're growing corn and doing all the things. And from prior presentations I've done, that there is a serious risk to, not just the livestock, but also the wildlife in the area. So that, I think, is, if you would just review that at your leisure, do that. The next thing I have up, I was asked by Supervisor Hogan to get a sense of what the other counties that have initiated moratoriums, what they have done to get there. As I mentioned, I think last time around, Albany County and Schoharie County at a county level have initiated local laws, bans to address this issue. The first one I addressed was Albany County. And what they've done is they've done it by executive order. Now, we don't have an executive here in the county.
We do.
Oh, that's your title is it?
Thank you.
Oh, I thought it was just chairman, sorry.
But.
So.
Right.
I mean, executive orders are popular lately, but in this sense, I didn't approach them honestly about that. So what I did was, but it clearly defines what they were after in issuing that executive order. And here Dan McCoy is in the paper. I've got to pick this up. So they've addressed it then. And then we're going to get to what I found to be the most productive discussion that I had in all the, although at a town level, Mike Viola or Polino in Thurston was very helpful.
Student guy.
What's that?
Student.
In Steuben County, yes. He was very helpful when I talked to you guys before. But I got to Schoharie County and actually I kind of stalled and didn't call until yesterday. As it turns out, on this past Friday, while everybody here was busy, they were busy there as well because they initiated a second or continuation, if you will, of the moratorium that they have in place. And I spoke to Judy Beeler, the county clerk, and she was very helpful. What she's done is give me the May 16th, if you get on these two documents here, the first one being the one they reestablished the local law in last Friday, October 17th. So that's there's there. And this is how it's made up. That's how they formalized it. The other one is basically, as I say, a continuation of that. That was done May 16th. So what I did with her, well, let me add one little piece to this and I'll, what she had said. In addition to all of this, they even provided Resolution 65, which basically was from that county to the, I believe, when this 5-year moratorium proposal was put in place in the last few months for the past session of the legislature. So basically showing their support for implementing the moratorium on biosolids at a state level. From what in this group I first mentioned, PFAS free, they were also talking about that's going to be revisited in this next session. So I thought it was pretty nice that they did that. There is a lot of support at a state level. The Senate, like I said, passed it 46-11. So that was good there. In the back of that, the next page, this is the Senate's approval and all the subjects that they had addressed in that proposed moratorium. It's quite extensive. I'd just like to quickly add, virtually, whether it be that Thurston or Schoharie or any of these counties, you get on their website, they've been very thorough in providing information to the public as to what's been done, what the outlines of it, the procedures for how they've got. And I found it's been very good, it's been very thorough. Now, getting at a county level and talking to Judy Beeler, she told me I said, like anything, I'm sure that the supervisors here in Washington County are going to be concerned about the legal aspect, which I'm glad you're here. There's many concerns of it. Is there money issues? Are there a whole array of different things that come about? and from various sources that we probably know. What she told me was, to this day, in Schoharie County, there's been no legal action approaches to any of this. We talked about, you know, I guess I could say Casella, you know, all the waste haulers, all that. There's been no problems with this moratorium being implemented. The board supervisor, she said it was a unanimous decision, so there was no conflict within the board to implement this. And because we're here at the Ag Committee, that's where it initiated as well. So you were in the right spot to initiate a moratorium. The powers to be, I don't know that much about, you know, the government here in this county, but certainly it starts somewhere, and this is where it started there. They've all been supportive of it. I don't know,
Ron,
any questions?
Yes, and I'm sure a lot of people are gonna have questions, but this is gonna be information and coming from Dan. Number one, if we as a county, you said that we do have the right to institute a moratorium. He researched that, and I think you announced it in committee meeting. Secondly, there is a link there to a moratorium? All moratoriums
They can
are for
only
1 year.
be
and then
for
you can
usually 6 months to a year, and you can renew. You can't keep renewing them to effectively enact the ban. You can't do that. The point of a moratorium is you're supposed to study the issue to see what kind of regulations, if any, you're going to do as far as it's concerned. The only concern that I really have at the moment, and perhaps with Public Works being next week, I know Matt Fuller had previously, I think by an email, asked the chairman for some time to talk about biosolids. Is there may be an issue with the sewer district? I'm not sure. I think they do some processing of it that I want to be somewhat sensitive to, so we don't kind of shoot ourselves in the foot doing it. But other than that, it seems to be pretty straightforward. So that would be the only other discussion I would suggest the board have is, you know, see how it may or may, a moratorium may or may not affect the sewer district. If it doesn't affect them, I think we're really good to go. But
So
I want to make sure we just don't shoot ourselves indirectly in the foot by doing so.
One more follow-up with that. What's the process if do we start it here, and what is it that we're voting on to do? To initiate a moratorium?
Well, if you're gonna
And
initiate.
what's the process?
If you're gonna initiate a moratorium, the process would be, we have to draft a local law, which means we gotta schedule the public hearing for the November meeting. Or you schedule a public hearing in the November, you pass the resolution scheduling the public hearing on the local on the November meeting. You have the public hearing and potentially pass the local law at the December meeting.
And that can be done here. We could pass a resolution to have a public
You can
hearing.
direct me to
Okay,
draft a local law or, you know, or the resolution, schedule a public hearing. That's simple.
okay, so we have an understanding of what we can do. Scott,
We break the local law in a way that doesn't affect operations inside the county, just stuff that's coming from outside the county. Or
You probably could. For me personally, I'd like the district's input just to make sure if we have to make adjustments, because I don't want to just absolutely parrot. You know, they're very specific in the moratorium. You want to make sure it's locally proper, I guess would be the word I would
and
use.
now is there a catch to that? It doesn't Lake George, which is out of the county, bring stuff into the composting facility?
Yes.
Yes.
So I mean, there's a lot to look
Yeah,
at.
right.
there.
That's
all.
why I want to make sure we've got.
Did either one of you have your hand up?
Yeah.
Last and then Jay?
I guess. Yeah, as speaking on behalf of White Creek, who found itself right in the middle of all the PFOA and you know, the forever chemical stuff coming out of Hoosick Falls with St. Gobain and Honeywell. That was there previously. I would definitely support walking down this road, but obviously after you get the research, you need that. But it's the direction we gotta go.
Jay?
we definitely have to be sensitive on our sewer district, but on the other hand, if there is PFOAs in there from material, we don't want it spread on fields either.
Right.
So we have to look
Well,
at
just
that
because
carefully.
what it says, you know, when the moratorium says no purchasing or applications, and I don't want them to get tripped up that, you know, whatever stuff is being brought in deemed a purchase and that they're purchasing the biosolids. That's what I'm trying to avoid.
The sludge we currently have, our facility that Lake George brings over. What is done with that sludge now?
It's caked.
They call it cake.
Cake,
Cake.
and then they. Do we sell that or?
Yeah, but I don't think it has on-field application. I recall to go through the mulching situation.
It could be, as I said, that's something I think
We need to
sewer
find
district
out.
would have the information on. That's why that's I have no problem going forward with this. I think it's a good idea. I just want to make sure we don't accidentally shoot ourselves in the foot and do
But
it.
I'm curious, so if it's in that cake form. Has that been superheated to reduce PFAS and that?
I would have no
Because if
idea.
it's in the mulch, that's the same as spreading it on the field.
Right, no, I don't disagree.
Laura, do you have any thoughts on this, being economic development director, on the impact this might have to the county if we quickly adopted a moratorium?
So far as I'm aware, I mean, the input from the sewer district would obviously be critical because they do have both output from the sewer system and then compost facility, and then they do sell the compost. So agree, we need to understand what the implications are. But other than that, you know, from an agricultural standpoint, and I think most of the committees gonna have more of a view than I would on that in terms of, I don't know where it is widely being used or not used now. I don't know if individual farms are importing it, using our sludge. I think that's all information we probably need to find. I don't have to say.
And now Jenny and Cassie might know. Does any of this is infiltrated into the fertilizer program of the?
Most conventional farms, whether they're row crop farms, you know, vegetables, whatever, if you're growing a crop, your fertilizer is coming out of a plant that's basic ingredients being mixed to be used on your field. Those basic ingredients, your urea, your potash, your MAP and DAP, they are highly unlikely to contain any PFAS. But where you're saying is your bag fertilizer, which would not be, so some farms, row crops, whatever, buy the fertilizer bag, but it's formulated there into bags and brought. But if you're buying it out of Walmart or Lowe's or Home Depot, that's the kind of bag fertilizer I think you're gonna find it. And if somebody, like, should be having the conversations with them, because the Walmarts especially, and some of the other big stores, they will question a food product and how it was and how you did it, make you go jump through hoops to prove that your food product, whatever it is, has been made completely and pure. And it is there are hoops that you jump through. I don't know why somebody couldn't ask them to do the same thing. And if this word got back, I would think Walmart to the world would jump on this and would be going, whoa, we want to know exactly how this is made because we don't want to be passing that on, because that's the same thing they'd come through if somebody made statements about food products, so now food products are tested, or we have to have programs in place, any food producer to pass through a review for the Walmarts of the world. If you're trying to sell your product to them, they'll say, have you done this? Have you done this? How does your co-op or your vegetable growers, or how do you go through to prove there's nothing on them? I would think somebody would want to be reaching out to them. But as far as the fertilizers that are made at say Caravelle, because they're in Washington County, their ingredients mixed together, not. If they was to bring it in sludge, to make the fertilizer that you're gonna put on a field, whether it's vegetables, pastures, whatever.
Any other questions? Ron, do you have another thought you'd like to share?
Given all that everybody said here throughout the day, actually, First off, the moratorium would be an action that could be taken in this county to allow the time for all the things that we've talked about, especially what we just said. At a statewide level, a national level, EPA, we pray that they're working on something that's gonna be able to determine safe levels of the sewage sludge in the land. If it indeed, and as I said last meeting, there's thoughts of a banning of PFAS within that, which would cure a lot of the problems. And I was told that there's 10 companies that produced the PFAS related chemicals. So, I mean, you can zone in on them quickly. However, there's a number of things you talked about it with your property discussion earlier. Testing of what we have from these that are coming from the wastewater treatment plants. Should they be tested? Should we know what, if there is a danger? There may not be a big danger. You know, it all depends from what I know of what I've learned about doing this. It seems that what you have going in the industrial waste in your communities will dictate the levels of this stuff. So, you know, some places it may be a greater level and then others maybe not so much. So, you know, that risk, we really don't know without proper testing and be able to figure this out. That in itself is, I think, a first step, like you mentioned earlier, with property. So you're just getting time, and quite frankly, you may get a lot of pressure taken off you simply because if the state indeed does the moratorium for 5 years, it's going to give EPA and these others to do it. They take the action they need to take. I understand from my environmental background that contacts I've had, that the only reason that didn't get approved was there was pressure put from the waste people, I think it's Casella, somebody, that on the downstate larger city areas, because that's where the bulk of this sewage sludge is coming from. It's not, I mean, if you talked about sewage sludge on a county level, I don't think you'd have that big a problem. However, when it's coming from wastewater treatment plants combined with industrial waste, therein lies the issue that you have. So it's just a matter of, I think everything we've talked about, the legal aspect of it, I don't think the cost factor, I don't think is going to be great, at least at this point. And, you know, there will be effects, like Laura said, with, you know, giving the opportunity to the sewer district and find out what that would create for an issue.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were
Go
done.
ahead. No.
And is the local law an actual ban, or is the local law just a moratorium?
It's a moratorium. But it can say, you know, like, for example, Seneca counties is, there will be no, purchase or application of biosolids in the county. That's the way their moratorium is written.
And that town of Thurston will the same way.
Yeah, a lot, there's been a number of towns that have done it, but only Schoharie done a local law and Albany County did executive order.
Yeah.
Right, 40 years moving ahead to being it, rather than wait for a moratorium by the county. We're gonna get our own local law and being it. Go from there. If the state does it, that's fine, but, we're gonna take that direction.
Can I add to what you're saying, Stan? I learned, and I won't say the name, but I learned in a legal sense that you can initiate a moratorium. I want you all to think about this. You can initiate that moratorium, but it's a town within doesn't have to comply with it. I don't know how true that is. I'll leave it up to the legal department, but that's what I've heard. Now, if that's the case, I mean, you'd like to hold, I hope it's all unanimous here, but I think it is something that you know, it's a consideration. And honestly, I don't, it's a public record. I mentioned Franklin County. Franklin County is the naysayer to the 5-year moratorium in that Senate was our representative here. And so You know, there's obstacles to it. I'm sure people will think of certain things, but I'd rather have them be that wastewater treatment plant, or what can we effectively do with it to continue on and not make stuff really costly, especially in today's world that things are going on. So I think it's just putting everybody's head together, and I certainly will offer myself up. What I found, even if you want to disregard me after this meeting, I have found that these other counties have been, they've forged ahead with this, and they haven't had the problems. They're great people to ask for information. So don't reinvent a wheel. They're a great resource. And that testing I mentioned, I've learned that, and I know sometimes they're not well thought of, but Sierra Club and other groups that are out there will do that testing to check on this current status of things. They did it in Thurston with the water supplies. And because that runoff and all the other things that will further create a problem. You can't help what's what happened in this county to this point, but you certainly can prevent it getting worse.
Jay,
I make a motion that we set the ball rolling on having a moratorium on PFAS and sewer sludge being spread. However, Dan wants to word that correctly. And we know that we got to talk to the sewer department and other things, but let's get the ball rolling.
now,
Resolution to set the local public hearing.
that's what you're.
And draft the local law. I gotta have that for the.
Seconded by Nate, discussion, and the one thing I have, Dan, do you have time to get that accomplished by the board meeting in November?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a
Even though I will not be
motion.
here for a week and a half starting next Wednesday.
But you take.
That's why I'm-
Not on this one.
So we have a motion and a second discussion on starting the process of a moratorium. And that is now Dana's question. You got your arm up.
Dan Rogers said that towns can essentially ignore county work. Do you believe that to be true?
I don't think he means it in the sense of ignore it. I'm assuming what he was saying, and I could be wrong, is the county can do something. He's thinking that perhaps the towns can do something more strict.
Is that more strict or less strict?
Well,
It's, you know, like in constitutional rights, if say the feds give certain constitutional rights, the state can give more, they can't give less.
Understood. It sounded like he was talking about less restrict.
Well,
Is that what you were saying?
I was led to believe that. I mean, you know, I certainly.
Yeah,
I'd have to look at, I generally don't like saying one subsection of a larger section can ignore the rest. I can't, I'm not gonna say it can't be done, but my initial gut would say no.
Let's get
I always look skeptical.
Kathy, did you have your?
Yeah, but my question was more for, as you move forward and look at the law. When the PFAS, because I'm in Cambridge, we also have it, we have many residents that have the water systems that were put in the town of Cambridge. There was a meeting is bill that was done by the state where they came in and brought in all the different departments. And they had information there that would pertain to everything different. You know, Department of Health, the soil and water, but all of those things came from the DEC. And I think you want to use them as a reference too, and moving forward as to check the information they have, because some of the stuff that they said during those meetings, I haven't necessarily seen in this stuff. So I just want to make sure that as we work forward to make the law, or, because obviously we can't have a moratorium forever, whatever the next stage is that we do, that we use those resources as well, because they did put on a good meeting and they pretty much tried to cover every aspect for every question you had, from your garden to your dirt, to the compost you bought, to all of those things, to whether it be in your food, to what the half-life was in your, you know, in the human system or your animals, they covered all of that. So I think that would be some background if you might want to look at as move forward. Just make sure that information is out there in your back pocket as another source.
Well, I'd like, can I add something to this? I mean, it's countywide, there's some things looming that we talked about sewage sludge. 8,000 tons of it's coming from the city of Glens Falls being burned in the incinerator. I mentioned before the Clean Earth ESME down in Fort Edward has a 5,000 ton project that they want to start to get burned PFAS out or heated up to a point where it's supposedly decant. You know, the jury's out on that. It hasn't been tested. So, I mean, there's many things looming here that this moratorium and it seems like that continuation of a moratorium until the powers to be do that. I know Mr. Hanke asked me if I had the answers. I'll be the first to admit I don't. But I certainly think that taking this step will prevent further damage, if any, has been done in the first place. This is a wonderful county, as I said last time, and I'd like to see it continue that.
The one thing you just said that made my ears perk up was if the city of Glens Falls is shipping
8,000 tons.
8,000 tons to our burn plant and we have this moratorium, does that mean they can't ship it here?
I don't know.
And what does that do to our burn
It
plant?
says purchase an application.
Huh?
We're not applying it.
Right.
I don't know, and then you wanna be careful, you don't wanna state in this moratorium, they can't bring it in. Because that's bringing it in. I don't know, Dan, I'm asking.
I'll look.
I don't know. But I agree that it's a serious concern.
Voted yet?
Dan's gotta research all of that stuff, and he does have earned time coming off, coming up. That maybe it will have to the best of your ability, you might have to wait until December for that first step.
I'll do what I can with the time I have.
We could,
If it's.
That's the spirit, Dan.
exactly. Can maybe take volunteers or supervisors that wanna do this. Dave, you got a few extra minutes yet, you could get involved in it.
Call the question.
Thank you.
Call the question.
Call the question.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thank you, Ron.
But I'll end it with this. Thank Dana Hogan. Thank you, Dan. Thank everybody here for listening to me. I think it's a worthwhile cause and I think you'll thank yourselves in the end for doing it. So I appreciate your.
Thank you. We will see a lot more of you, hopefully.
Oh, and if you can take volunteers on this group that you're getting together, I'd be happy to volunteer.
Well, you heard all the concerns and
I'm retired now. I'm okay.
No on-call paper.
Pardon me?
No on-call paper.
Oh, no.
Volunteers
Don't
don't
take
get
any
on call
handouts,
back.
no money.
Thank you, Ron.
Bye-bye.
Dan, can I have one real quick question? At the
Absolutely.
risk of, I don't wanna have a long drawn out. Dan, if we can have a moratorium against this. I thought at one point you told us we couldn't have a moratorium against battery storages. I'm bringing it up because that's kind of ag related. On a countywide basis,
I don't recall saying that.
because
I
when all
know-
the towns started scrambling because we said, well, the county really
It
couldn't do it.
may have been a meeting that Tim covered, not me. I don't recall doing it. It's.
He was not in that meeting. That was your predecessor. And that's why that committee, Cassie chaired it, it just kind of dissolved because it said it couldn't be done at the county level. That was the green
I was just trying
energy,
to figure out the distinction. there.
all
That
those
was all.
four times and lost discussion.
But
that's
we can- Yeah, more work to do on vacation.
There will be no work done while I'm in.
Okay, we're moving on.
I
We're gonna
would
go
like to
to,
look
we
at
got
that.
Lee.
The town.
That has been withdrawn from the agenda. I did receive an email from Gretchen Steffen yesterday, I believe it was, asking, she was gonna present her budget. And there weren't any changes made to the budget, and she had asked, I guess, what the thoughts were of Washington County, what it would take for that budget to pass, and I said, it's my recollection from the committee meeting that you were looking to see some changes to the budget she presented. I think mostly in the salaries, because the salaries allocated were what affects our actual services that are being delivered downstairs in Lee. So at that point, she withdrew the item from the agenda today. I don't know when the budget's coming back for workforce development.
but the key is withdrawn, so we don't have
Withdrawn
any
for
discussion
today.
on it.
Correct.
Very good. Let's move on then to discussion on accepting the 250th funding.
So technically speaking, I already did.
So we're following up now and I'm getting.
Basically because, so we've known that this was coming for a while. There was some federal money that went to the states. The states were then to decide how they were going to allocate a portion of that to support 250th related activities. They looked at school age population, ended up doing an allocation per county, gave us less than a week to say either you accept it, you give it to a nonprofit organization, or we at Department of Education keep it. So I accepted it. So essentially, it's $15,000. It'll come to the county. It specifically has to be in support of 250th activities, which can be the programming we do through tourism. We could also potentially use it to any activities that the county historian does that is potentially related to the 250th. It can be used for that. All we really have to do to accept the funding is to give them a report at the end of next year to identify how we used it. So we haven't got it yet. I just went online and said, yes, we'll take whatever you want to give us, and I'm waiting to hear back, but thought I'd let you know.
Chairman, do we need?
Questions? Yes.
Do we need a motion to?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's-
Well,
Unless
eventually
you
we will
wanna-
have to accept it and put it into the budget, but we don't actually have it yet. What I really did was apply for it, and then when we receive it, we will accept it and put it into the budget.
Okay, so we're not across.
So Dan, should we do a retroactive motion?
You
To
can
apply
do,
for the grant?
you can do at least a motion, non pro tunc to apply.
Is that what your motion is?
Yeah, if that's what's needed, then yes, I
And
second.
second by Jay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carry.
Slide.
Next
Thank
thing is just a quick update on tourism. So as you know, we have been following up on the state's short-term rental legislation, getting a registry set up, getting occupancy tax elected from all of the short-term rental operators in the county. We have been working with Deckard software for several months now. This has taken much longer than we anticipated it was going to take. We are close. The last piece of it is to align the software that actually allows registrants to make payments, the $250 fee that we're going to charge to make an online payment when they do the registration. So we had some hiccups with that. We think we may have found a system that works both on the Deckard platform that we can use. As of today, it's still going back and forth. We're getting pretty close. But meanwhile, anticipating that this was all going to be done some time ago, we held an event in Granville a couple of weeks ago that basically gave an overview to all of the hosts on short-term rentals in terms of what the legislation was, why it happened, how we are complying with it, what the new registration will look like, etc. I think that meeting went very well. It was well received. Our follow-up is meant to be, when is the portal going to be live? At this point, my understanding is that if we are able to get our IT department, our treasurer, my department, all in line with the payment software, it'll take about a week for them to approve it, and then hopefully we can get the portal set up.
Get the treasurer in line. Ha.
Any questions on that?
Laura, I just want to compliment you and Amy for that presentation. Everybody I've talked to that attended that as one of these potential users was very impressed with you and your staff. Very impressed.
And if you haven't been to that venue, I encourage you to go. That was beautiful.
Yeah, it was. They had 3 more weddings this last weekend.
Nice.
Yeah, she said that they frequently do 3 to 4 weddings over the weekend. It's a gorgeous venue.
Todd was telling me that they actually now have to apply for their own liquor license. And now they're looking to expand it up and back for the RV and those or whatever those tents, yurts.
Yurts, yes.
Well, for some of them, they're really talking about doing big expansion.
Yeah, they have one short-term rental now.
Springs.
Mandy Springs, which is it's kind of a subsidiary. It's Gardens and Gables Event Barn. They built it on the Mandy Springs site.
Any other questions for Laura on this?
I'm
Do you have
glad-
anything else?
I have nothing. I kept it short because I knew we had a couple
Okay.
things. to
You have
catch.
more calendars. I've had people ask for them.
Those are great calendars.
We're getting short on them, but we have some more. So I think we just delivered a box. Hudson Falls has been asking for a lot of them. So yes, we have some upstairs. Pop up and we'll give you some to take back, or we can drop them off at some point.
Hop over right now. You're already upstairs.
That's right, this is upstairs.
There are
Any
stairs to the
other,
third level.
any other questions for Jay? Is there anything?
Lots of questions for Jay, but they can wait.
They can wait.
And our Vikings get screwed over the weekend.
Yes. Now, under other business, do we have anything? Cassie, is your hand up under other business?
I just wanted to circle back to what Melissa said about the workforce. We did have other questions that didn't have to do with the budget because it appeared she obviously dropped the ball on our request about more money when we asked about money for when the prison closed. Because we asked her, and she said, oh, we had that, we sent it to them in April and they just started a conversation like the month before. We wanted to know about that and should I have two things? Oh, and how the formula was, she was gonna look into how the formula.
And they're working in on the formula, the allocation, last
I
time
can't
I heard.
remember what else.
But what was the first thing you were talking about?
Leaf had requested more money in April that hadn't been acted on in 4 months.
Yeah, I haven't had any update on that.
Those were two other big things I could think of. They weren't budget related, but they were two other street requests.
So I think there was one other thing that came out of that meeting, and that was the concern that with the staff of the workforce board being put on Saratoga County payroll, when Saratoga County adjusts the payroll, right now, they are able to do that without input from the other two counties because they are Saratoga County employees. So there was discussion as to whether there should be a separate agreement, the multi-jurisdictional agreement should be amended. But there should be some way to allow the other counties to weigh in on salaries other than just Saratoga County.
And I had raised that question yesterday when I was talking to Shelley, how that even happened. Like, did all three counties vote that they would become Saratoga County employees? Like, how does that happen? Because it's the most expensive salary schedule out of the three counties in most cases. So obviously, if they worked for Washington County, their salaries would be less.
They would have, we would have 10 days. We don't expand on that.
Right.
I am aware.
Jay would like to ask.
Well, well, you were gonna finish.
I was just to say, I am aware that the board chair, who is Gary Day from Stewart's, has initiated conversations with all three centers as to what would be reasonable to include in an allocation formula. He did some research, did find that apparently what happened is there was a formula that came out of the workforce board 2007, 8, something like that, that was based on Department of Labor stats at that time. When board changed and staff changed at the board, nobody thought to go back and relook at the stats. Just took the same formula and applied them every year after that. So what Gary has done is initiated conversations as to, okay, should this be the formula that we use? Should the formula be different? And I'm very happy that he's included all of the centers in that discussion so that everybody has the ability to contribute their opinion as to how that formula should be working. So I do know that at least is being looked at.
Jay.
Yeah, and I think we felt before some of the meetings some frustration because we had to product the information out of how many people were participating, where we were getting. We finally got some of that one of these last rounds and stuff, but I'd really like to know, you know, do we have any successes? Is there any way they can track successes on that for money we're spending? I'd like to know how many people going through the door down below are actually getting into the program versus people that have lost their jobs and really want to go back to work, so they're doing it. So, you know, that would be kind of interesting to know. Maybe that ought to be a requirement. Someone going through the door down there that they participate in the program.
So one of, because that is actually a question that I've had discussions about. One of the problems, as I understand it, is that when somebody walks in for services, they get those services, they go off and they have a job. There is no mandate that they follow up. So the career centers all follow up with the people that they're serving to the extent that they can. But if somebody doesn't respond, they've now lost track of them in the system and can't say, this person got training, they went on to this job, they're making this salary, and they went, because at some point, those individuals may not be communicating. And I don't know if there's a way to address that. I do know the centers are trying to follow up. I don't know that there's any way to require that participants.
Well, is it easy and is it possible if they require services and they apply, they get services, and then they take the training, wouldn't the simplest measurement would be they're off services? Simple as that, isn't it? I mean, if they're no longer in need of services, could we simply just say it was successful?
I cannot answer whether if somebody walks in the door and they are in receipt of multiple services from multiple agencies, departments, they go through workforce training, they get a job. I'm not familiar enough with the actual Department of Labor tracking system to know if there's any way to even track that. Like, it may be that it comes from the different departments. It's not necessarily following one individual and what services they may have changed once they got that training or job or whatever the case was. I can ask. I'm not sure
No,
how the Department
I'm
of Labor
just-
works.
Shelley could probably update the committee in the future. I think since we've gone this far, I should mention that in the conversation I had yesterday with Shelley, she mentioned that they have had a reduction of staff in the LEAP office. They have just recently laid off 2 of the workforce development staff members because of the federal funding that has stopped at this point. So I don't know what that'll mean right now. She assures me that the job's getting done. I don't know of anything that's lacking. I haven't heard of anything, but told her we'd continue communication.
What I can say, and this was discussed at the last workforce board meeting, is that statewide, the workforce board year goes from July 1st to the end of June. So right now, as you know, because we haven't voted on it, there is no adopted budget for the workforce board and the career centers. So there's an allocation that comes from Department of Labor that it comes in tranches. 15% of the annual allocation, which would be, if there was a budget, which there isn't, but we're probably pretending that there is, 15% of the allocation for July of 2025 to June of 2026 for adult dislocated worker services is in. 100% of youth funding is in. So we were told by the fiscal agent in Saratoga that typically the balance of that funding comes in October. However, there's nobody in the federal government to write checks right now. So I'm unclear as to the status of when all of the centers might be able to access additional money. I don't know if it comes from Department of Labor and they're not getting the checks from the federal government, but I can say that as of a month ago, we only had 15% of adult services money in for the year. So that would create a hardship for the centers, undoubtedly.
Any other questions for Laura? Anyone else have anything under other business? Scott?
Wanted to, I don't know, announce, I guess, I requested the blessing of the chairman to form a working group that, for the purpose of researching and hopefully finding, alternate revenue sources through tourism, through, industry, whatever it might be. And I think we start next week.
You guys said it. That's your time back.
Get it on the calendar.
Bob, do you want to stand up and offer your blessing?
has my blessing.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.
Hey, Laura, if there's any pickings left, I'd like to pick your brain for it.